My mom always liked boys better than girls. When she found out my brother wasn't really her son, she got a DNA test done that very night. Because of a special ability, I could hear the thoughts of people who hurt my family. I smiled a little. This was going to be easy. To my mom, who clearly preferred my brother, I thought, should I tell you that your precious son was actually switched at birth? That he's dad's kid with another woman? Mom immediately rushed to the hospital, freaking out and demanding a paternity test. To my dad, who was addicted to gambling, I thought, I heard the reason you lost so much money is because the casino owner was mom's first boyfriend. Dad's face got dark. He grabbed a knife and stormed out of the house. To my lazy, spoiled brother, I thought, no way. You really don't know that mom and dad are spoiling you on purpose to ruin you so I can inherit everything? My brother put down his game controller and glared resentfully at our parents. I went back to the day I was about to drop out of school to work. Gaining the ability for my family to hear my thoughts, things took a turn. After that day, my most trusted family secretly moved to a new house, celebrating my leaving all night. Outside, I scrimped and saved, sending money to my family, which all went to my brother's house fund and dad's gambling. I ended up exhausted, got cancer, and died in a faraway hospital because I had no money for treatment. My soul drifted back home, and I learned about all the dirty secrets. I thought mom would be sad about my death, but as my soul faded, I heard her proudly say to my brother, "Finally, your useless sister is dead. All my money will go to my baby boy." When I realized I was reborn, I flat out told my smiling mom, coldly, "I'm not going to work." Hearing my words, mom's smile froze, and she said anxiously, "If you don't work, how can we pay for your brother's tuition?" I replied coolly, "There's still dad. Let him pay for it." Seeing mom on the verge of getting angry, I quickly dropped the bomb. "But hey, that brother isn't even your son, right?" "What's that noise?" Mom looked around, then focused on me. "What are you saying?" I acted innocent. "I didn't say anything, Mom." Then, I revealed the truth in my mind. Mom couldn't possibly hear my thoughts. It must be a mistake. Anyway, I'm not working because I don't want mom to be tricked. Should I suggest a paternity test since that brother isn't her child? Mom stared at me for a while until she confirmed I didn't actually speak, then trembled and went to knock on my brother's door. My chubby brother David was furiously playing video games, cursing. As he heard the knock, a string of words followed, none of them nice. Usually, mom would laugh it off and soothe him, but now she shot back angrily. It must be my thoughts making her suspicious. We're a slim family, so why is David so hefty? Mom ventured into his room, snagged a hair when he wasn't looking, then left the house without a backward glance. My brother, confused by mom's actions, removed his headphones nervously but still muttered angry insults. "What's that old woman up to?" Watching mom's fading silhouette, I laughed silently. Turns out, breaking ties is that easy after all. How could a cracked family be rock solid or unbreakable? After dinner that night, mom didn't return. Dad came home full of irritation. Not seeing food ready, he immediately started yelling at me. Of course, he went gambling and lost again. I maintained my usual timid act, dutifully heading for the kitchen. As I passed Dad, I triggered my thoughts. Dad's so angry he must have lost money again. "What did you say? You dare talk to me like that?" Before I could walk past, Dad heard my thoughts and flew into a rage, grabbing me by the hair. Staring at his gross face, I fought the urge to gag and cried, I didn't say anything, Dad." Then I shut my mouth and let my thoughts spill. I just felt bad for Daddy, losing so much money. Dad doesn't know the casino is owned by mom's first love, Jack. Watching his face change, I twisted the knife. It's supposedly mom's unforgettable first love, Jack. His forehead veins popped in anger. Exactly what I wanted. Letting go of my hair, he shoved me aside, storming to the kitchen for a knife. Dad, what are you doing?" I pretended to be shocked with no clue what was happening, but tried to stop him. He ignored me, mumbling nonstop. "No wonder. I just knew it. No wonder." He blew past me, knife in hand, storming out the door. He was hardly gone when my brother, still glued to his video game, finally noticed. "I'm hungry. I want dinner." Pushing out of his room, he side-eyed me. "Mom's not here, so make me dinner." I didn't look up, calmly scrolling my phone. I won't. I'm not hungry. If you are, make it yourself. Before I finished, my brother kicked me, knocking me against the table. How dare you treat me like this? Just wait till mom and dad get back. His gut jiggling, he glared in disbelief, wanting to teach me a lesson, but then his eyes glinted mischievously. I wanted to pretend not to hear, but after thinking like before, I stood up and apologized. The more he acted up, the worse he'd be off later. I'm sorry, please don't tell mom and dad. I'll go make dinner right away. Why couldn't you do this earlier? Now you're in trouble for not listening. Go make dinner. After my little brother finished saying that, he flopped back onto the couch like a king and turned on his gaming console. I was about to head into the kitchen when the front door slammed open. Mom was home. I calmly continued cooking. Sure enough, as soon as Mom got home, my brother rushed to her, eager to tattle. As I brought out the cooked food, I quickly intervened as I overheard him. Didn't we agree that if I made dinner, you wouldn't tell Mom? Seeing my panicked look, my brother got even more smug, rubbing his chubby cheek against Mom's arm. Mom, she wouldn't make dinner for me earlier. Your son was starving. I didn't refuse, Mom. I didn't, I frantically explained. But Mom stood up and pulled me to the kitchen. My brother thought Mom was taking me there to scold me and made a mocking face at me. Mom closed the kitchen door and looked at me with a bitter expression. You've worked hard, Emily. I know dealing with your brother must have been tough. Just as I expected, since the paternity test results weren't in yet, there was no way Mom would risk upsetting him for my sake. I rolled my eyes when I looked down, replying in my heart, no matter how much I explain, Mom will never believe me. It's amazing how my brother pretends. He called Mom an old woman first, and that's why I didn't want to cook for him. From the corner of my eye, I noticed Mom hesitated before opening the door, then stiffly walked out. Through the crack in the kitchen doorway, I could see my brother tattling and whining again. Imagine a giant 300-pound brat whining. It's terrifying. Mom unusually pushed my brother away, smiling awkwardly. My brother, oblivious, shrugged it off and dove back into his game world. The house was silent, but tension lingered beneath the surface, except for my brother's occasional curses and shouts interrupting the quiet. But I knew a storm was coming, ready to disrupt this fragile peace. Just as expected, the landline rang, with the police solemnly informing us Dad had been arrested for causing a commotion with a knife at the casino. At the police station, Dad, done with the interrogation, sat in the mediation room ranting. Want me to make amends? No way in hell. Why don't you cops investigate Jack's casino, ripping people off? The man with the square jaw across from him sighed. You think the police just ignore that? Even I'm getting penalized for it, and you're not getting off easy either. When Mom walked in, the man was about to greet her but was punched to the floor by Dad. Mom tried breaking up the fight, and soon all three were tangled in a brawl. Seeing this, the police quickly intervened, ending the fiasco with a forced settlement. On one side was a casino owner, on the other, a knife-wielding gambler. If pushed, neither would end up well. Back home, Dad, furious, kept questioning Mom about her relationship with Jack. What's going on between you two? Are you cheating on me? My brother, as usual, stayed silent, indifferent, and absorbed in his unfinished game. No matter how many times Mom explained, Dad responded with angry yells until she kicked the couch with force. All right, Robert, you don't trust me, huh? Then tell me, what about David? Robert's my dad's name. The mention of my brother David in this suspected affair situation left Dad stunned. David, looking confused, was signaled by Dad to go to his room. David, head to your room. This has nothing to do with you. Mom approached me, speaking with a warmth I'd never felt before. Emily, you should go to your room too. Mom and Dad need to talk. Does your leg still hurt from the bruises? Mom will get you some ointment tonight. In a previous life, Mom never treated me this way, not even up until my death. I always thought it was because she wasn't good at expressing her love, until I witnessed her warmth towards my brother as a floating spirit. Now that she's suddenly changing her attitude, it must be her fear of losing a son to care for her in her old age. Thinking of this, I acted surprised and obediently replied, "Okay," and went back to my room. That night, while listening to the angry shouts and sound of things breaking from outside, I fell peacefully asleep. When the paternity test results came, I had already used the money I'd secretly saved for Mom's birthday gift to enroll in a tutoring class and had been attending it for nearly a week. With the chaos at home recently, no one bothered with me, allowing me the rare chance to enjoy some peace. I'd never had this luxury in my past life, busy with work to support the family. After my tutoring class ended and I returned home, I immediately sensed something was off. My brother, who always hid away gaming, was nowhere to be found. Only Mom sat alone on the couch. Oh, the results are out then. Seeing how she even sent David away, she must be planning to beg for sympathy from me, her last hope for a caregiver. I stifled a cold laugh, pretending to care. Mom, are you okay? Mom motioned for me to sit, then began sobbing. Your dad? No way. Mom couldn't have already found out David wasn't her child. Hearing my inner voice, Mom was about to confirm it, but my next heart thought made her pause. But Dad said back then, the baby she gave birth to passed away from organ failure shortly after birth. And this brother, though Dad's child from another woman, is... I cut my thought short looking at Mom, who was desperate to know. But my brother knows nothing of all this. And as long as we raise him well, he'll care for Mom when she's old. Mom held back her tears. Should I tell Mom all this, I guess? Mom kept silent. I still want to keep studying. That way, even if my younger brother ends up being ungrateful, I can give Mom some security for her old age. Mom poured me a glass of water and picked up the ointment on the table to massage my bruises. Coming back to reality, I asked, what happened with Dad? Mom? Just as I expected, after listening to me, Mom went silent. Trying to rely on me? No chance. This dog-eat-dog drama can't end so easily after all. Mom, who prefers boys over girls, never really trusts me with her retirement. Even though my brother isn't her biological son, he seems more reliable to her. After that day, Mom and Dad reached an agreement. Mom helped Dad talk Jack out of his gambling debt, and Dad had to agree to let me go to school. This was Mom's retirement plan. It's also the most vital part of my revenge plot. After a huge fuss, I stepped back into campus, feeling like I'd traveled back in time. Mom, determined to secure her last backup for retirement, managed to scrape some money from Dad's secret savings and borrowed the rest from her family to pay my tuition. If this were my previous life, I'd probably be too excited to sleep, thinking Mom finally saw my value. I am just as good as my brother. But this time around, I know how rotten this family is, and I'll never feel soft. The cracks in this family seem to be patched up by my parents' lousy pretense. They teamed up again to belittle and scold me, pushed me to get a part-time job after school for money, and even threatened that if my grades didn't meet expectations, they'd make me drop out to work. I nodded and agreed, saying I'd work a part-time job in the evening after school. In reality, every day after school, I happily went to tutoring classes and tutored younger students to make some pocket money just to keep my parents quiet. Amidst this peace, I maliciously observed the barely patched cracks, waiting like a hunter for the right moment to strike, a moment to break the rotting beams of this family completely. One day after tutoring, I came home to an empty house. Only my brother's gaming shouts echoed from his room. I smirked. My chance was here. After making dinner, my brother sat at the table, wolfing down his food while still playing games. I silently mused. Does my brother really not know our parents are purposely turning him into a failure? No response from him. He was still absorbed in his game, overwhelmed by the thrill of winning and losing, showing no reaction. There was just a momentary pause in his swift fingers, and then, "What are you yammering about, woman? Don't bother me. Shut up." Seems he heard a bit. That night, I went to his room to give him some milk, speaking my thoughts aloud. It's so late, and my brother's still awake. Mom and Dad must be thrilled. Through the mirror by his door, I saw him stiffen at the game station before turning around with his huge face. I pressed on. Ugh, Dad made me give him milk so late because he loves my brother more. So annoying, hate him. Whatever, my brother is pitiful, playing games every day, not knowing Mom and Dad are pampering him into failure so I'd inherit everything. As I left, in the mirror's reflection, I caught a glimpse of my brother, stunned. He put down his game console, his eyes following my leaving figure. David might be dim-witted, but constant exposure to my thoughts eventually made him believe it. With my parents' odd behavior during past fights, he confirmed a truth himself. Finally, at the dinner table that night, my brother put down his game console, glaring at our parents with resentment. Dad, Mom, am I even your real son? Dad reacted first, forcing a smile to reassure. How could you think that, David? Of course you're our son. Mom, pale, put down her chopsticks and squeezed out a smile too. Yeah, our precious son. Why would you ask something like that? His eyes were dead serious, his small eyes blazing on his chubby face. I suspect I'm not your real son at all. I kept my head down, shoveling food into my mouth to suppress the laughter welling up my throat, because their clumsy denials were just too funny. In this chaotic scene, my brother couldn't hold back any longer and yelled, "Then what's this?" He spat as he threw crumpled paper on the table. Careful not to spill my food, I quickly realized it was the paternity test Mom once did. I didn't know where she hid the proof. My pampered brother stayed home all day, so he could find it, despite searching aimlessly. Always hot-tempered, Dad looked over the document and calmly explained, as if expecting this, David, now that you know, I'll tell you the truth. You're adopted. But have we ever treated you poorly? Haven't we always loved you like our own? Under the table, I quietly pulled out my study materials, listening with interest to this vivid drama, knowing full well what Dad was thinking. Now that David knows the truth, it might be better to bring him over based on closer blood ties. My brother angrily interjected, If you really treat me as your own, why did no one push me to go to school? Why let me play games all the time? The moment he said that, I could see both my parents' mouths twitching simultaneously. My poor, clueless brother. Why don't you go to school? That's because you never wanted to. Mom hesitated under Dad's insistent look, but still cooperated, softly pushed. We're worried about you. Afraid you'd get too tired. School's tough. Look at your sister, up early every day, while you're comfy at home playing games, right? As she said this, she silently nudged my leg as if to say, don't mind it. But having lived through this before, I easily saw through Mom's undisguised greed. A greedy wish to find a backup plan for old age, deeply rooted in her preference for sons over daughters. Maybe he picked up on a keyword, but my brother's face fell. I have questions too. Are you guys sending Emily to school so she can inherit the family fortune? Mom's expression changed, but she stayed quiet. Sis is studying to help you out. Dad tried to laugh it off, patting his chest and saying, You're the only heir to our family fortune. Watching Dad speak so confidently, I had a little chuckle inside. Family fortune? More like family debt. Dad's assurance seemed to calm my brother down, and he stopped questioning. The dinner table atmosphere went back to being calm, but everyone had their own thoughts. Yet I didn't miss the sudden harsh look in Mom's eyes when Dad declared my brother's status in the family. She was already getting worried about her retirement plan again. My brother changed once he found out he was adopted. I kept whispering to his heart about how Dad really cared for him. In my previous life, he was always closer to Mom, who spoiled him endlessly, but this time, with my hints, he started leaning more towards Dad. Mom noticed the shift and tried being nicer to me. She'd interrupt Dad whenever he had his outbursts aimed at me, and then she'd throw a comforting glance my way. That didn't last long. When I caught her suppressing a smile while looking at her phone, ignoring Dad's random insults, I figured out Jack was back in the picture. Sooner this time around. Their affair wasn't something I planned. Last time I was working hard away from home when I got a call from Mom. She was sobbing, saying her affair had been caught. I rushed home, buying my own train ticket. After a grueling 20-hour train ride, what welcomed me was Dad's brutal beating. Later, I overheard Mom's sweet-talking Dad saying she only cheated to get back at him for his affairs and she still loved him. Dad just chuckled sleazily, claiming he also cared for her too much to really hurt her. I laid outside their door, feeling like a worthless piece of trash. If he cared about Mom, then why take it out on me? In that moment, it all became clear. I was just a pawn in their twisted game. But by the time I realized it and went back to work only to find out about my cancer, it was too late. Now this time, I wondered if they'd still be able to keep their lovey-dovey facade after my brother's adoption was revealed. Time flew, and I was already in my junior year of high school. For months now, I'd been whispering into Mom's heart, "Can you believe my brother found out he's not really Mom's kid?" He even yelled at her right in front of me. "It's too much. The way Dad seems so chill at dinner. Could all this be his doing? Is he planning to ditch Mom and be with that other woman? No way. The only thing keeping me here is Mom." What is she going to do? All right, there's Uncle Wong, but oh well, Mom heard these thoughts and, wanting to keep me around for her old age comfort, signed me up for extra classes with her own money, pretending it was from Dad. She shared her heart with my brother while handing him a glass of milk. The atmosphere at home is so weird lately. Dad's been out a lot, and even Mom's distant when she's home, just glued to her phone with this goofy grin. Turns out she was chatting with someone named Jack. By day, I worked hard at school and never forgot to use my inner voice to stir up family drama once I was back home in the evening. My brother's gaming became less frequent, and he started tagging along with Dad more. When they got back, it was usually just Mom left alone. Seeing this happening often, I knew the climax was near. I put on my headphones, not really listening to anything, but just moved like I was vibing out to tunes. Quietly, I pushed open the front door. Usually, the living room light was always on, but now it was pitch black. I noticed a sliver of light under Mom and Dad's bedroom door and saw Mom's slippers weren't in their usual place. I glanced over at my brother's room. He wasn't there. Picking up my homework left on the table from the morning, I acted oblivious and casually walked out. At the tutoring center, I logged into my secret social account and sent a picture of an AI-generated, innocent-looking girl to my brother, following up with a sweet voice using a voice changer. "Hey, handsome, want a game together?" He replied quickly, "Sure thing, hang on. I gotta get back home to my PC." Like father, like son. Pretty cringe. As the teacher's voice started the lesson, I deleted the app and shut off my phone. I was in a good mood, ready to absorb all the knowledge. As soon as class ended, I eagerly turned my phone back on to find a bunch of missed calls from Dad, showing he tried to reach me about half an hour ago. I took a bus from the tutoring center, curious, as I dialed Dad's number. His anxious voice mixed with some insults. I couldn't tell if he was worried about Mom's situation or if he was worried his golden boy might get in trouble with the cops. Apparently, when my brother had come home early to game, he caught Mom and Jack in the act. They were so wrapped up in each other, they'd ignored the angry glow in my brother's eyes coming from the door crack. The knives I'd spent so much time sharpening for cooking were finally getting their use. My brother, with a loud battle cry, rushed into the room, swinging, slicing wildly. Jack, to his credit, took a few for Mom before passing out. Mom, in her desperate escape, wearing only light clothing, fell down the stairs in pursuit multiple times, ending up unconscious. The neighbors next door heard the commotion and quickly called the police and 911. The ambulance arrived at the same time as the police. After checking out the situation as they took my brother away. When I got to the hospital room, Mom was lying pale and motionless on the bed. Dad's angry face softened a bit when he saw me walk in. Instead of being his usual critical self, he looked inviting and waved me over. "Emily, you're here." Wiping my tears away, I tried hard to hide my mixed feelings of success and sadness. "Dad, what's wrong with Mom?" Dad looked defeated, covering his eyes with both hands. "The doctor says she might be a vegetable for life, never waking up again." Yet, in his eyes, full of sorrow and panic, I saw a flicker of calm determination. I soon understood what that meant. He ran, took all the cash and valuables from the house with him. He even left my brother, who was still waiting at the station for someone to bail him out. Not only that, Dad caused a scene at my tutoring center, demanding a refund for the money Mom had left there. I bet if high school tuition were refundable, he would have stayed just to grab that too. Looking at the chaotic mess at home, I silently removed a hidden surveillance camera, and as I stopped the recording, I couldn't help but laugh. The sharpest weapon I had against Dad was now at my disposal. At the station, my brother's eyes widened in disbelief when he saw me. "Why is it you? Where's Dad? Why hasn't he come to get me?" After all this time, I forced a weary smile. "David, Dad's been busy lately, so—" His angry fist slammed against the glass partition, his face shaking with fury. "I don't believe it. Emily, did you say something to Dad?" Tears rolled down my face. It's been a week, David. How can you be so naive? I pulled out a phone with a clip of the surveillance video, wiping my tears away. Watch it yourself, David. I came today to bail you out. If you still think Dad's innocent and it's some trick of mine, then just forget about me being your sister. My words were firm, but the trembling hands that handed him the phone betrayed my nerves. David was my only family now, and I'd worked day and night to get him out. But I couldn't understand how Dad could leave us all so heartlessly. Why now, when everything went wrong? Mom hospitalized, David in custody, and Dad just slipping away? Could this all be part of Dad's plan? David watched the footage of our father's betrayal, and the despair was clear as day on his face. He struggled to speak. Where? Did you get the money? I shrugged. How else? By working. Walking out of the station hand in hand with David, I made a call to our remaining relatives. With Grandma and Grandpa, all I got was silence or disconnected lines. They blocked me. Mom's sole remaining contact was Grandma, who hung up instantly upon hearing news of Mom's condition. Just like when she'd reacted indifferently upon hearing of my death in a past life. To Grandma, women were always the most insignificant beings alive. We should apologize, make amends. David believed Dad was behind this mess, benefiting most from our troubles. Surprisingly, when we sought forgiveness from Jack, who'd been attacked by David and expected to face his refusal, he remained calm. Though I was ready to use dirty secrets as leverage or appeal to his sympathy, Jack instead kindly sponsored Mom's medical bills and offered us financial aid. Returning home, David eyed the ATM card in my hand, swallowing hard, ignoring his hesitant expressions. With a reassuring smile, I said, "You're hungry, huh? Let me make you something to eat." Counting the steps to the kitchen, I figured 1, 2. Things are so tough now, sis. Maybe you should drop out of school. Of course. Like father, like son. Selfishness ran in the family. Apparently what my brother meant was having me as his full-time babysitter. That aligned perfectly with my plan. I'd already learned everything for the rest of sophomore year at tutoring. Now is time to shape my brother into the weapon I needed. Under my loving care, David slipped back into his old habits, playing video games for hours. But he trusted me even more now. During the day, I worked while searching for Dad. At night, with David, I shared my thoughts. Work's tiring. Dad was so cruel to leave me, David. And Mom stuck in the hospital. Folks mentioned they saw Dad on vacation, living it up. Why wouldn't he, with all that money? I had no choice but to accept it. Dad had abandoned us. David's game marathons were often followed by outbursts of profanity. In those moments, I'd soothe him, fanning the flames against Dad. Then, one day, while at work, I spotted Dad with some woman who was noticeably pregnant. They walked hand in hand, strolling affectionately. To everyone, they looked like the ideal, loving couple. Despite his cap and sunglasses, I recognized him immediately, the same Dad who took everything and ran. I quickly ducked into the corner and took out my phone to snap some pics of them. I even recorded a full 360-degree video. It seems the reason Dad can ditch his own son, keeping his own flesh and blood at a distance, is because of that woman. She not only looks young and healthy, but is also pregnant with his child. Compared to our family, with a wife who's now in a vegetative state, a son in the police station, and a daughter who's still in school and needs money. No wonder he took the cash and ran. As I watched their backs gradually fade into the distance, a daring plan popped into my head. Once I figured out where they lived, I staked out the same spot again the next day. I'd followed them home the previous day and overheard the woman whining to Dad about wanting new clothes. A man with cash to burn like Dad wasn't going to miss a chance to dote on her. He promised her they'd go shopping the next day. While working on my bubble tea orders, I acted all nonchalant, keeping an eye on the crowd. When I spotted the happy couple not far away, I dropped the half-made bubble tea, burst out the door, and blocked their path. "Who are you?" The woman who was giggling with Dad a second ago suddenly put on a cold face. Ignoring her, I locked eyes with Dad and demanded, "Dad, how can you live with yourself?" Her face twisted in disdain as she took a step back. "Robert, handle this yourself. Don't force me to step in," she said. Dad, who usually has a short fuse, turned into a puppy in her presence. first soothingly comforting her, then turning to me with downright viciousness in a hushed voice. Emily, I suggest you stay put and mind your own business. There was no way Dad was going to let go of this comfy life he'd snagged. He yanked my arm hard, ignoring my cries of pain. Don't let me see you again, or... He slightly turned his head, gesturing towards the woman with his eyes. Neither I nor Wendy will let you go. I yelled at him. Why? Why would you take all the money, ditch us, and still have the audacity to say this? No sooner had the words left my mouth, a brutal slap landed on my face. You let her hit me? You don't care about Mom, about my brother. Heck, you don't care if we live or die. A little devil inside me started cheering, hoping he'd hit me a few more times. No fear was going to stop me from sharpening the knife that would end it all. Though my face showed pure rage, I raised my steaming hot bubble tea, ready to throw it. But out of nowhere, my long-lost grandma pushed me from behind. The tea, meant for Dad's face, splashed onto Wendy. Wendy screamed, frantically brushing herself off while cursing. Dad gave Grandma a look and immediately went to console Wendy, and together they left in a hurry. Just as I was about to stop them, Grandma stuck out her foot, tripping me hard. My right ankle swelled fast. The commotion drew the attention of bystanders. People stared, some even took out their phones to record, whispering among themselves. A few kind souls wanted to intervene, but were scared off by Grandma's fiery demeanor. Grandma yanked my hair, leaning in to threaten quietly. Emily, I suggest you don't get any funny ideas. Wendy's pregnant, and Robert's soon going to marry into Wendy's family, that big shot real estate group in town. My unborn grandchild's going to inherit the company, and I'll be the chairman's grandma. As tears streamed down my face, I painfully shook off her grip, nodding roughly in agreement. Once Grandma was gone, I couldn't hold back my tears anymore, crying out loud. They were tears of joy, to be honest. Thanks to my grandma, she's the one who spilled the beans about the other woman, revealing what lit the final big fire for my sharpened blade, that Dad's gonna have a new son soon. With Grandma out of the way, folks on the street gathered around with concern. I wiped away my tears and fought back more as I explained what had happened. I told them about my mom in a vegetative state. My brother turned violent because of Dad and how I still had to study while working, and how Dad took our money and bailed on the family. Now he's going to marry into money. The more I shared, the bigger the crowd grew, eyes wide with shock and curiosity. In the end, a few rugged guys wiped their tears and pounded their chests. So sorry for you, sis. Anything we can do to help? I made sure those stray cameras caught my bruises, then turned down the generous offers with watery eyes, dragging my tired body away. I listened to the encouraging words behind me. I looked toward the direction of home, suddenly feeling the future wasn't so bleak. Because in that crumbling mess of a family, those tiny acts of kindness lit up the darkness and healed my wounds. I am going to be the only winner. Before I even got home, I'd lost my job at the bubble tea shop. Yeah, Wendy's influence was just as big as Grandma said. When the store manager called, silence filled the line. So heavy I felt it through the phone. Finally, a weak sorry slipped out. I knew the manager was a good guy. He felt sorry for me, even gave me an extra $200 a month, and let me attend online classes and do homework when the store was quiet. I told him, "It's okay, I get it. Thanks for everything." When I stumbled through the door, my brother didn't react. He didn't even turn his head, just kept his headphones on and lazily said, "Sis, you're finally back. I'm hungry." When I didn't answer, he turned around and, seeing the state I was in, shouted in horror, "Who did this to you?" Meeting his suspicious little eyes, I nodded. "It was Dad. I saw him today. He and Grandma did this to me." My brother made 2 bowls of instant noodles, and after treating my wounds, I lay on the couch miserably. I knew his heart was definitely a mess of emotions. He might be hoping for Dad to come back, or Grandma to remember him, her beloved grandson. But at the same time, a subtle hint of darkness may be rising inside him. First, I'll completely erase his unrealistic hopes and amplify that darkness endlessly in my heart until one last blazing fire burns bright. Then the blade unsheathes. "Did Dad say anything?" my brother asks as he devours his noodles, acting like he doesn't care about the bruises Dad left on me. I lift my steaming cup noodles. "Dad told me to mind my own business." What about me? Did Dad mention me? My brother interrupts, clearly unconcerned about my injuries. I shrugged. Dad didn't mention you. He was with a pregnant woman. A clatter, the sound of chopsticks hitting the floor. Silence stretches on. I watched the expression shift on my brother's face, silently stoking the fire in my heart. Dad seemed especially protective of that pregnant woman. But never mind, let's not burden you with this. My brother's hand trembles as he picks up his chopsticks. Grandma used to adore my brother. How did it change overnight? He swallows a bite of noodles, pausing. They say it's because Dad's new woman is the heiress of a famous corporation, I add. No wonder Dad, who never holds back his temper, is restraining himself, even marrying into her family and going shopping with her. Think about the fortune after marrying into that family. Eyes wide, my brother looks up. Grandma says Dad's hit the jackpot. He'll be a chairman soon, rolling in cash. I have no hope myself, but if my brother negotiates with Dad used to spoil him. Surely he'd take him into fortune with him, but if my brother leaves too, what will I do by myself? A spark lights up in my brother's otherwise dull eyes. Are you really going to find Dad? I stand at the door, reaching out to stop him, dressed and ready to leave. He sidesteps my hand, intentional or not, looking more determined than ever. Sis, don't worry, I'm just going to get what's ours. I trust Dad won't be so heartless. My brother seems to forget Dad's cruelty, fully believing in his own special place in Dad's heart. He's packed for a long stay, burdened with bags. You'll come back, right? My brother hesitates, adjusting his backpack before giving a nervous smile. Of course I'll return. Don't worry, sis. His bulky figure ambles away, and I seize the moment. But won't you be in danger if you just go like that? Dad's woman is fierce. A weapon might help. A kitchen knife's good. I've sharpened it. Real nice. I suggest nothing, but hesitation marks his now distant steps before his voice echoes down the hall. Sis, bring me a knife. For self-defense. Handing over the knife I've diligently sharpened since I got a second chance, I watch his figure disappear into the distance, then close the door without looking back. As for my silly brother, with that family's innate selfishness and cruelty, it's either him or Dad. With some long-lost quiet time to myself, I polish off the homework I've fallen behind on and crash into bed until the phone rattles my ears with each ring. I leisurely get up to answer. Is this Miss Emily? It's the police. We've received a report from a passerby. Your brother was stabbed by your father and has been taken to the hospital. Waking up to this news is almost enough to make me laugh out loud in front of the officer, but I keep my act together, shocked. I gasp and sob, pressing the officers for details. They explained there was a heated argument between my brother and father, resulting in a scuffle in which Dad grabbed the knife, aimed at Wendy, and stabbed it into my brother's heart. Finally, the officer kindly warns me. Your father's on the run. Stay safe. Though we're trying our hardest to catch him, call us if you're in danger. Choking back thanks, I hang up and bury my face in my pillow to smother my excitement. Well, it seems the outcome between my brother and Dad is settled. Dad's been on the run for 3 days now. Since the news broke, Wendy has become public enemy number 1. People believe Dad's motive to kill his own son was related to Wendy, the home-wrecking accomplice. The backlash intensifies, and our family's dirty laundry is swiftly aired online. Even neighbors who know our situation start spilling the beans. Dad not only took all our money, but also abandoned his vegetative wife and kids. Outrage bubbles over, and when a video of me battered and bruised surfaces, some justice seekers attack Wendy's house with trash. Terrified, Wendy runs back home, leaving Grandpa and Grandma, who had expected a life of luxury with just shattered dreams. The police blow off their complaints for lack of evidence, leaving them no choice but to slink back home under the cover of darkness. Wendy's identity is unmasked, and her supposed corporate ties are exposed as a sham. The company, fearing for its stocks, quickly issues a denial. Surprise! She's just a distant relative with no significant connection. I had guessed this long ago. What rich heiress would be interested in Robert, much less bear his child? Police clues revealed Dad's been loitering around banks, desperate for cash, even at the risk of being caught on camera, but robbing a bank? Not a chance. I sit on the couch, scrolling through news updates, my expression hard to read, trying to predict Dad's next move. Since there was nowhere to settle down and even money for survival became a problem, so where would Dad go? A chilling scratch of a key in a lock echoed in my ears. I looked up. Somehow, the lock on the door was turning ever so slightly. Stepping closer, I peered through the peephole, and outside stood my unkempt, haggard dad, whom I hadn't seen in days. Unfortunately, I had changed the locks right after the police warned me to be cautious. Dad pressed so hard against the door, but without the right key, he couldn't get in. "Emily, open the door! It's Dad!" I retreated to a corner where he couldn't see me from the outside and was about to dial 911, but hesitated. Letting the cops take him right now felt too easy for him. Real despair coexists with hope. The deepest despair, it's the flip between heaven and hell in a flash. I stayed close to the door, trying to make it seem like no one was home, but I accidentally tapped the wall, enough for him to know someone was inside. "I heard you," he pleaded. "Open the door, Emily, please, I'm begging you." The knocking intensified as Dad heard the sound. I couldn't open the door. The police told me to call them right away if I saw him. A cold voice broke the air, urging me not to open the door. "I know you're in there. I know, please. Help Dad, okay? I've always thought you were my favorite daughter." Yeah, right. Even through a door, he could hear my thoughts. Dad said I was his favorite? Must be lying. I should call the cops. In the peephole, I saw his eyes raging. "Don't call the cops, Emily. I'm on my knees begging you. Don't do it." Dad looked pitiful. The police said he'd been roaming the streets, but he was nodding desperately. No, I can't feel sorry for him. He's the one who killed my brother. But then each silent moment played tricks with my heart. As Dad grew more frantic, Open the door, Emily! Open the door, Emily! I'm begging you, just open the door!" Grabbing what was Dad's last hope, I decided, he must be looking for money. Mom left me some just in case, but I'm not giving it to him. I need to think of a way to keep him stalled. What if he goes to the hospital and threatens Mom? Silence returned. Dad stood there, those toxic eyes glued to the peephole. With a voice full of dark promise, he threatened, "Okay, Emily, you want to play hardball? Why, watch this. I'm going to the hospital to unplug your mom. Now." My voice rose for the first time since his knocking, full of doubt and disdain. "You dare do that, and I'll call the cops right away." He was beyond anger, backing away, nodding. "Fine, Emily, you don't think I will? Oh, just watch me." The last sight in the peephole was his twisted, hateful face. "I'm warning you, Emily. No, lying. I can hear your thoughts. All of them." I slowly followed him. Once he was in the hospital outside, I freaked and called for the police. "Miss Emily, you need to go inside and stabilize Robert," the officer instructed. "We're on our way. Keep him calm. It's a public place, and we want to avoid unnecessary harm." Watching him head into the elevator, I agreed, "Hurry, I'm scared for my mom." Dad saw me and sneered. "Good job, Emily. If you'd given me the money at home, I wouldn't have to come all this way." One hand with a knife was on my mom's neck, the other on the ventilator plug, threatening to cut off her life support. "Dad, don't do anything rash." Seeing him like this, I dropped to my knees. "I'm out of money, just some from working. You can have it all." "You liar, your mom left you money." The slice on Mom's neck grew threatening. My resolve shaking, I cried, "I'm not lying, I swear." Inside my thoughts, how'd he know she left money? But it's fine, police are coming fast, he wouldn't dare hurt her. But he erupted like a beast. "You called the cops, Emily? How naive can you be? I ditched my family, took all our cash, and you think I won't harm? Life means nothing. I killed David. I can kill your mom." He kicked aside medical gear, rammed the plug. Suddenly, a commanding shout cut through. "Freeze, police! Robert, drop the weapon!" The cops stormed in, swift and trained. Dad's lips trembled, realizing escape was gone. He thrust violently at Mom. The officer sprang, all around him, subdued and pinned down on the floor. Days of fear led to this madness, and he was quickly subdued. As they dragged him off, he twisted back, grinning wildly, hoping I'd break down. Seeing my tears conceded to the floor, he laughed, pleased with himself. Yet, my thoughts crushed him, leaving his defiant scream echoing into hoarse, and as they finally took him away, my words reached him one last time. Thank you, Dad. My dear Dad. He helped me get rid of the last two enemies I had in this life. You and Mom. The day my college entrance exam results came out, I was invited to give a speech on TV. My results weren't spectacular compared to all the top students, but they were good enough to aim for a prestigious school. More importantly, the TV station praised me for having a vibrant energy. I still remember the award speech when I was named a city-level 3 good student. They marveled at my unfortunate and tragic past, but also praised my resilience, comparing me to a resurrection plant. Despite a broken family and the pain of losing loved ones, I was never defeated. I accepted all the honors with a clear conscience, saving up the prize money and scholarships for my future education. I knew that the journey of learning with just me left wouldn't be easy, but having been tested in past lives, nothing could hold me back anymore. Honestly, I really liked that award speech, comparing me to a resurrection plant, because I truly am like one, dead and then revived until I'm full of life, with deep roots and thriving leaves.